Coogs House. We are all looking forward to starting the Willie Fritz era off on the right foot. But is it possible to replace 4/5 of the most important part of the team?
You are Locked On Cougs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Cougs, daily podcast about your Houston Cougars. I'm your host, Houston-born teacher and coach Parker Ainsworth. And whether you're a Houston fan or just a hater who came to stop by, thank you for making Locked On Cougs your first listen of the day. If you want to join the conversation but don't know what to say, tell us, what's your barbecue meat of choice? Are you a brisket person, a pork rib person, a sausage person? I guess you could be a chicken or a turkey person. Tell us what's your barbecue meat of choice in the comments down below. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. More on that later. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today, and that includes how Houston is going to aim to look to replace 4/5 of a starting lineup in the offensive line. I want to look at that position entirely today because honestly, it's the one that I think could be the most concerning from the depth, from the edges, but I don't think we need to be concerned about the interior. So that's what we're going to start is honestly starting with what could be a good thing for Houston on that interior. I think there's a number of different things to be excited about with the interior for those Houston Cougars. And so let's jump on in with, honestly, the returning starter. Tank Jenkins was given another year of eligibility by the NCAA. He was a high school class of 2018. He graduated high school in 2018 and is playing his final year of eligibility in 2024. Now, I have to say, part of this is because of the red shirts and the COVID years and the injuries and stuff like that. When he graduated high school in 2018, he actually went to Texas A&M and did not play there either his freshman or sophomore, I guess his first or second year with the red shirt here and those kinds of things. But A&M got him from Montgomery, Alabama to Texas. That gets him eventually to Houston as he's transferring during the COVID year 2020. He gets no playing time in that season. Either does not suit up and play in 2020. However, the 2021 season, his first season in Houston, able to play, ready to play, Tank Jenkins comes in and plays all 14 games, starts all 14 games at right guard. That was a great season for the Houston Cougars, if you remember. Big American Athletic Conference Championship game, appearance in that game, won the Birmingham Bowl, right? Big season that season. And he started all 14 games of the 21 season at right guard. Then you go to 2022, he starts a lot of that season as well. And then last season started as well. So you got a bunch of starts under his belt in the last 3 seasons of Houston Cougar football, bringing a lot of that leadership to the team. In those 3 seasons as a starter, he allowed just 8 sacks per Pro Football Focus. And frankly, I have to say, it looks like he's been working a lot more on the run game based on some of the stuff that he was doing in the spring game. It looks like he's been working a lot more on that run stuff than he did before, or certainly been a bigger focus under Manny Gavi, Kevin Barbay, and the new offensive system they got going. And so I think that that's all working in his favor. He'll be playing alongside, as the most veteran guy, probably the most talented guy in the offensive line, that is center Pancake Demetrius Hunter. It's his turn. Outstanding spring game. He put up a pretty strong start in his one start last season. Pro Football Focus, his Oklahoma State game when Jack Freeman was hurt, Pro Football Focus gave him an 82 grade on his pass blocking. Lower run block grades, but that's to be expected with a young offensive lineman, right? Not as strong and just not as much time in the weight room, right? Those kind of things. He's got that under his belt. Now got another year under his belt. He was one of the top centers in the class 2022, a 4-star prospect. Frankly, it's one of the highest ranked recruits to ever come through the University of Houston. And tangentially, had Lincoln Riley not left Oklahoma, I'm not sure he comes to the University of Houston, right? There's a lot of reasons to feel good about the fact that he's one of our guys. He's out here playing for the University of Houston, and with it being his turn, I think you're going to see him with a really great point of attack at the center position this year. He's obviously intelligent, calls out the offenses, calls out things, etc. But I do think that you'll also see the strength show up, right? He's another year stronger, another year in the system under Nagavi. His redshirt year to last year, he didn't quite have the continuity of the changing offensive line coach and stuff like that. So having 2 years in a row with the same offensive line coach, I think is going to be a good thing for him, especially as he takes over the center spot, doing all the calls and stuff like that, right? I'm expecting a big year out of him. I think when you watch them play just a one-on-one blocking, he's the most talented guy in the 5, and he does some stuff that even last year's guys weren't able to do, right? And so I feel pretty strongly about him at center. And then honestly, as young as he is, he's not the youngest. Cayden Bowie will be probably playing his left guard spot next to him at 6'3", 315, has size, strength, redshirted last season, class 2023 kid out of high school. I feel really good about what Cayden Bowie does in the spring game, texting some people, DMing some people. I feel people continue to be impressed by his weight room numbers and the stuff he does in the practice, in the summer drills and stuff like that. Was a 3-star prospect at high school, Cayden Bowie was, but that's in large part because they value interior offensive linemen a little bit less. Typically, he was the number 116 ranked interior offensive lineman across the country. I think that's because, Port Arthur is like in the Golden Triangle. Port Arthur High School is not like the big boisterous program necessarily. I think that the other piece of this is he missed one of his seasons. He missed his 2021 season in high school. That's his sophomore season. His junior season. There you go, with a torn ACL, and then goes on to be a first team all district guy the next season. Trip from my words a little bit, but I am saying that Cayden Bowie, I think, projects to be a very strong player with a lot of upside. And I'm excited to see what he does at guard for Houston. Had a bunch of other different Power 5 offers, TCU, Purdue, I guess Central Florida is just like we are now, right? And I think that he's a natural fit at the other guard spot. So the interior lineup, Cayden Bowie, Pancake Hunter, Tank Jenkins, that's solid. That's really, really strong. And when you look at a team that is losing 4 of its 5 stars in the offensive line, having that strong interior is going to be really important. But it's also going to be really important for what Kevin Barbay, the offensive coordinator, wants to do. He's a big gap scheme kind of guy, right? He's going to do a lot of looking at down blocks here, drive blocks there, working the second level off of the double team, et cetera, et cetera. That puts a lot of focus on the interior of the offensive line because you're not running outside the tackles a whole heck of a lot. Having those interior guys working together is going to be important. Having the camaraderie is obviously a bonus, but having the talent is necessary right there on the inside, right? I think we'll see these guys grow a lot of the season, right? You've got Tank doing a lot of the leadership stuff, but then Demetrius and Cayden both being as talented as they are at the other 2 spots in the middle of that offensive line really creates a nice machine to be moving through as you're looking to improve the run game from a year ago, right? You're hoping to run Donovan Smith more at quarterback, assuming he stays healthy. You brought in Zion Chris as a transfer quarterback. He's a great runner. Parker Jenkins in the running back room we know is very talented as well. Going to have H-backs and tight ends in there to help out. This is the kind of team that is built to run behind these road graders there at the front. Now, admittedly, they have really high pass blocking grades as well. That's actually what each of these guys probably does best. That's fine. I think the deal is you got to understand talent is talent, and they're working into this new system and scheme. Now, as comfortable as I am with those 3 guys, I do have a lot of questions about what to do with other guys in the offensive line room. But there's one thing I don't have any questions on, and that is where I go for tickets when I got to get tickets at the last minute, because if it's last minute deals, flash deals, zone deals, whatever. I know Game Time has all the different deals for buying tickets for whatever concerts, theater, games I need to go to this summer with MLB games, go see some Astros games. That's the way to do it. Go to Game Time and download the Game Time app today to get all kinds of all-in pricing and seat views from wherever you're looking to get into the action. The lowest price guarantee is that if you find a ticket in the same row and section on a different site, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. All right. I mentioned that as comfortable as I am with the interior of the offensive line, I do have a lot of question marks on the outside. Some of that's just admittedly because these guys are guys I don't know a lot about, right? We have a lot of new names on the exterior of the offensive line that I have not gotten to see play at the Big 12 level a whole lot. Some of that is because, admittedly, in replacing 4 of the 5 stars of the offensive line last season, one of those guys you're replacing is one of the best offensive linemen I've ever gotten to see come through the University of Houston. That's Patrick Paul, right? Giant left tackle, started from several seasons. Was it 3 seasons? 3 seasons, 4 seasons, 3 seasons as a starter. You got to see him get drafted in the second round by the Miami Dolphins. He may very well get a start for them at right tackle this fall. We'll see. And as we get closer to the season, I actually like to preview some of that and where Cougs are in the NFL with different guys in their NFL spots. But honestly, tackle is increasingly important in the pass game. Now I balance that in my own head with what is Houston going to do passing-wise? Is that really the most important part of what they're doing? Are they going to be doing movement, play action, get out of the pocket, that kind of stuff? Does that negate some of the necessity of having strong tackles? But then I'm also like, you know what, man? This is football. Tackles are important. You typically need to have big, strong, athletic guys out of those spots. Houston's targeted some in their recruiting portions of what Willie Fritz has been doing. But as far as playing guys this season, you're actually looking at guys that transferred in last offseason at both tackles. It looks like one tackle is going to be Shamar Hobdy-lee, who transferred in from Florida International or FIU. He played 982 snaps there, almost all of those at left tackle. He has pretty high pass blocking ranking scores on Pro Football Focus from his time there. I have trouble watching some of the film to see exactly what kind of thing we're looking at because of the difference of competition level and what FIU does, right? Obviously, what Houston's doing. I will say that I think just comparing the kid in those clips, the kid we saw in the spring, he is bending his body better in pass sets. He really does get off the ball pretty quickly and is a good athlete at 6'4", 300 pounds, right? Does he project to a left tackle? I'd be way more comfortable with him at right, given that Donovan Smith's a right-handed quarterback. But he may have to play left because he had the experience there. He done the Big 12 experience there. Last season, he played 108 snaps at right tackle. But he does have experience playing some left, so we'll see which side of the ball he ends up on. I think just on looking at experience, he's going to end up being one of the 2 starting tackles out the gates. The other one is David Dukwe. Now, David Dukwe is a little bit bigger and leaner, 6'6", 315, played at Western Kentucky, and frankly is also a little bit younger, at least in terms of his eligibility. Last season, he played just 20 snaps at tackle. They were all at left, for whatever that's worth, right? While he played left tackle Western Kentucky, he played a lot less snaps because he's a younger guy, right? And so I'm looking at, what kind of thing does he project to? There are very few snaps of him on tape anywhere before the spring game last season, right? And so when I look at him on tape, I'm like, his body looks like prototypical left tackle, 6'6", 315, big long arms, right? Get after it in the pass blocking game. Think about the way a great defender in basketball stays in front of his man. That's the kind of footwork you're seeing. But I just haven't seen enough of it yet to feel super comfortable. And that's not necessarily to say that Dave can't play it, they can't do it. I just haven't gotten to see him do it. I will say that in both of these guys' cases, I worry about the run game and the way they bend their hips. Both hobdy-lee and Dukwe have trouble getting underneath the second level guy, because you go up and charge the linebacker. They got to redrop your hips, racing your hips, get low and get under stuff. That's really, really hard for a 6'5", a 6'6", 315-pound guy to do, right? And so you wonder how much the offseason's helping them develop that. I will say, playing a second year with Emmanuel Gabi, who pulled these guys in out of the transfer portal last offseason, that has to help, right? That cannot hurt their odds at this spot. The kind of wild card here to me is, I don't know what Sam Seacrest is going to bring. He played some center at Murray State, played some tackle at Louisville, but didn't play a whole lot of game snaps at either spot. And so he comes in, transfers from Louisville at 6'6", 300 pounds. I will say he's a very intelligent guy, and that's probably why Murray State played him at center, honestly. He's big, 6'6", 300. He's young. He's got tons of upside. And frankly, if you go back and watch like his high school tape, which of course he's a giant on the field, and that he's a bully. Like, the mentality is there to be the run grading type of guy. And so if he ends up getting to play some of this tackle, because that's what he was listed at Louisville, right? Is he the better run blocking tackle in the bunch? I think it's a possibility. I don't think it's something Houston can necessarily look past. We're looking at like, what kinds of things are they trying to do, right? Are they trying to become this road grading team? Well, then it might be Seacrest. They need the tackles to kind of drop back into pass coverage stuff, or pass block type stuff more, because honestly, we're going to give up some points. It's the Big 12, right? It's a high scoring league. You got to score some points. You got to go through the air to do it. Then you might go to hobdy-lee and Dukwe. I am, as much as I'm interested in those guys, the other guy I think could work his way into the mix here is a guy that I kind of feel bad for, and that's Jake Wiley. Jake shows up to Houston, I guess most recently at UCLA. Didn't get to play a whole lot at UCLA last season, but did play 32 games as an offensive lineman at Colorado before that. Played at Colorado pre-Deion, and then got cut and snipped and all that kind of stuff when Deion came in and cleaned house. And I feel bad for Jake, because I kind of think that consistency would have served him well. Played 150 snaps last season, but before that was kind of a more regular guy at Colorado. And Colorado wasn't great before that, right? But I do think that at 6'6", 310, and again, this is a guy that's not a young guy. He's played 3 seasons of college football already, right? So matured, strong, been in the college weight room system kind of stuff a lot. I think that Jake Wiley could work his way into the mix here. And admittedly, that may just be me wishfully thinking, but the guy's also got 1,350 snaps at tackle, right? So could he be, Colorado was in the Pac-12, like that's a power conference, or was a power conference. Could he be the answer at one of these spots? We'll see. It's an interesting spot with varying levels of importance based on what Houston's trying to do. There's just no word where it's not important. It's just how important is it? And got a bunch of guys that could do the job. Now, I want to talk some about all of this depth and what this offensive line room looks like in a second. So as you put together this offensive line room, Emmanuel Gabi has what feels like a daunting task. Last year's offensive line, for all of its flaws, was veteran. Had a bunch of guys with a bunch of snaps. Jack Freeman, multi-year starter. Ruben Unije, multi-year starter. Tank Jenkins, who's coming back, multi-year starter, right? Patrick Paul, second-round pick, giant, all everything, all Big 12. I mean, just tremendous. Got to replace him, right? That doesn't seem fair for the first year of Willie Fritz's tenure to be like, oh, by the way, that offensive line group, the group that's like at the center of what you're building, yeah, they're all new. They're all new. And it's not because they didn't want to play for Willie and all left. I talked to one or two, Twitter DM talking, nothing too great, it's extensive. But they're like, the vibe on campus is good. I wish I had more eligibility, right? And they don't. They're off doing their own thing. Many of those guys are getting shots at the league right now, right? Like Freeman had a shot in Tampa Bay. Unije, I guess, is out the door. But that's, that Ruben's a great kid. But he's out at UCLA now. And it's just interesting that this super important position, Willie Fritz is going to have to work with completely new bodies, it feels like, but not a completely new offensive line coach. Fritz and Nagabi know each other from Tulane, but Nagabi's been at Houston for over a year now, so there's some familiarity there. And those relationships are all kind of convoluted and twisted in a weird set of ways. You also have to deal with, I don't know what position Sam Seacrest translates to. Is he a tackle like he was at Louisville, or an interior guy like he was at Murray State? If you could, why would Murray State have played a great athlete at center, not tackle? You got to ask those kinds of questions. Yeah, is Jake Wiley a starting kind of guy like he was at Colorado? Right. Do you mess with the interior offensive line when you got all that talent in there to begin with? Peyton Dunn, as far as rotational sub-depth guys, has the most trust, it feels like, out of the offensive line staff. He came in at times last year. I think this kid named Dakota White's going to be a wild card too. He had 30 starts at tackle at Louisiana Tech. He's 6'4", 300 pounds, moves pretty well. Size-wise, that's kind of a guard, but also he played a lot of very good football at Louisiana Tech at tackle. Does he become a small right tackle? Is he a swing player? Is he just a utility depth guy? Lots of questions to be answered there, right? And unfortunately, go back and watch the spring tape. Not a whole lot get answered, right? I want to see continue. We saw some growth from hobdy-lee and Ndukwe as run-blocking guys on the edges. We want to see continued growth, right? We saw flashes of dominance from Pancake Hunter and the inside. Kind of need to see him become the man, right? We know we're getting at Tank Jenkins, but he was kind of one of the five fingers in the fist last season. Now he's the most veteran guy by leaps and bounds. So what is he going to do as a leader of this unit, as opposed to kind of one of the guys, right? Lots of different questions for this group, and we're setting the tone for the long-term success of the Willie Fritz era and the turnaround of this program. And we saw last season that the trenches in the Big 12 and power conference football are really, really intense. TCU last season came out with 3 strings of defensive linemen that all could play ball, right? Texas Tech, they went 4 down and played 9 guys in different spots across those 4 down spots. It's really, really important. And so suddenly, looking at a bunch of different spots in your season. I mean, you didn't even talk about the Oklahoma game, right? A bunch of different spots in your season next season where how these guys are growing and how fast they're growing is going to be really, really important. Like, I need Demetrius to be that top end, one of the highest ranked prospects to ever come through kind of guy, like week 2. That's incredibly fast. And frankly, that's not even a fair kind of speed to ask him to adjust to that. But it's what we got to have. And those are the kinds of questions that this offensive line room leaves open. Now, I say that as a guy that thinks there is a lot of upside here, right? I mean, I mentioned Cayden and Pancake are both young and very talented, right? I mentioned that Wiley is a wild card. Dakota White is a wild card. These guys have talent. It's just putting the pieces together in the offense you're trying to do and how it all plays out on the football field. We know there's still guys that have talent. We know Parker Jenkins can run the football. We know Joseph Manjack can catch the football and get open. I mean, we know these guys can do things if the offensive line allows the time, allows the holes, allows the gaps, and frankly, is in sync and working together along the way. I don't mean to sound overly pessimistic, and I don't usually the optimist, frankly, of all your Houston Cougar content, folks. It's just a group with a lot of questions, and I think questions don't have to be bad things, but right now they're certainly scary things because they're unknown, right? And so we'll continue to watch and get more insight and understand more about this group as things get going. But right now, I'm afraid I leave you with a lot of questions because that's where we're at with the offensive line. I'm your Locked On Coogs, Parker Ainsworth. You can find me each and every day at Painsworth512 on all your social media handles. And man, oh man, I'm hoping to have a lot more questions answered on that soon. We'll bring you a lot of Houston Cougar content this July, I promise, after somewhat of a hiatus before. We're coming at you hard and fast and frequent this July. So make sure you subscribe. Hit the bell on YouTube so you know when we go live. Locked On Cougars is a proud member of the Locked On Podcast Network. That means your team, our Houston Cougars, each and every day. Go Cougs.